Today, I want to introduce you to the Water Masters program. And this is something a little bit different in training for small water systems. I've been involved in training for small water systems, especially for quite a number of years now. And one thing we notice is there's a real gap in the training. A lot of the training focuses on the technical requirements to maintain operator certifications, and that's certainly something that's important. But very little systematic training for actually managing a small water utility. And that's really where the Water Masters program focuses. So I'm going to run through some slides here and introduce you to the program. We're going to get this going here before too long. We're looking to see people that want to sign up. There's really going to be two formats to this. Generally, it's probably going to be a mastermind format where we're going to get 8 people in a group, maximum of 8 people. And then we're also going to have some individual coaching if we need to go that way, but it's probably generally going to start out as a mastermind program. So we're going to have those two formats. So let me just run down the program here, and I'll give you a chance to be able to get a hold of me later. So the Water Masters program really is looking at transforming small water utilities. We're seeing so many tools out there that were long out of the reach of small water utilities, AI, and a lot of the efficiency programs. So a lot of this stuff out there that can really make small water utilities efficient. So we're really looking at how do we take all this data we accumulate and really become a data driven organization so we can actually use that data and we don't just file it away in a filing cabinet, never to look at it again. The value of data is really in the trends, and that's really what we're looking at here. So this is a whole systematic program where we're looking at all these different areas. And so but the goal actually is to go from reactive management, which is where a lot of people are, or as some people like to call it, the run to failure model, to proactive leadership or even predictive analytics. So you can predict where that line leak is going to happen so you can get to it before it becomes a problem. So this is the training we're looking at. How do we go from where we are now to really a proactive data driven organization? So it's going to be a program of systematic management, data driven decisions, and really proactive operations. So really what we got here, most people, and this is what I call the run to failure model, is we have the reactive cycle. And 80% of the time is spent on firefighting. When we talk about firefighting, that's running around doing emergency repairs, basically putting your finger in the dike, trying to hold things and never getting ahead of the situation because we're always running around repairing things. And that is not the most productive use of our time because pipe failures, for instance, do not happen during convenient hours. It's always going to be 3 a.m. on Christmas morning or something like that. So we want to get away from that situation. And that's really what the data driven decision making and proactive process can really get us and what we're offering through the Water Masters program. So right now we have limited proactive management. Sometimes we have scheduled maintenance, but it really doesn't get beyond that. It's an unsustainable cycle. So we're seeing where we fall further and further behind. Deferred maintenance just eats us alive. And it's a costly approach. The emergency repairs are obviously a lot more expensive than repairing things on a schedule or getting ahead of things. So we want to go from emergency response to proactive management and the get rid of that 80% passive and really move in the situation where we need to go. That's kind of where we're at now and where do we want to go. So the training gap we have right now is technical training is abundant. We see a lot of rural water associations, a lot of outfits offering training for operator certifications to maintain their certifications. That is important. Obviously, you have to have trained operators and they have to maintain their certification. That's important. But management training is what's lacking. According to the EPA, over 70% of small water systems report difficulties in key management areas. So a lot of people come in, and especially in smaller systems, they don't have the experience managing these types of things and they run into challenges. So what do? You got to make it up. And it ends up being that reactive situation. When things break, we repair them, and it ends up being an expensive and time consuming way to go. So We have a skills gap. Managers lack the crucial skills despite technical expertise. They may have the technical expertise because a lot of these managers are coming up from being an operator, and but they may lack the management skills. So this is where we're trying to bridge the gap here. Financial planning, asset management, strategic decision making. These are some key areas where we're really seeing people falling down. So we want to go from technical training to management training here. We don't want to have disconnected operations. We don't want to have inefficient resource allocation, poor leadership transitions, and missed business opportunities. A lot of funding is hard to come by these days. People don't like to raise rates. It's challenging to go out and get SRF funds and those types of things. So we may have to make every dollar count, and this is one way to do that. All right, so core challenges for small water utilities. So, what are the challenges that we're facing where we can really look at a management situation to try to move away from these things, deal with these challenges, and move into a more proactive situation? Obviously, number one, aging infrastructure. We've seen when you're doing emergency repairs all the time, deferred maintenance becomes the big bugaboo out there, and we're seeing maintenance kick down the road, and then it ends up being expensive emergency repairs is what that generally translates to. So it's lack of effective asset management because we're busy firefighting basically. What's going on is we're running around, rushing around trying to do the repairs and keep things running without being proactive about it. We got tight budgets, limited funds for improvements, and difficulty supporting our investments. And when we talk about investments, we talk about investing our funds into capital projects for our water system through the capital improvement plan. And that's something that we need to make some wise decisions there. And we need to prioritize that based on our asset age and condition. And we often don't have that data when we're operating purely in a reactive mode. We have workforce challenges. So personnel turnover, knowledge gaps, insufficient succession planning, and we just have the silver tsunami going on out there. There's a lot of people retiring, and that's where we're getting this knowledge gap because that knowledge is walking out the door when people retire. Increasing regulations, regulatory burden never becomes less, that's for sure. And lack of systematic management. So we really need to manage systematically, and that's the approach we're teaching in the Water Masters program. So these challenges really create a perfect storm that perpetuates the reactive spiral. We need to move out of that spiral. All right. So the Water Master solution, really have three key pillars here, and we have a lot of components under these three pillars. But this is really where we're looking at the 40,000 foot viewpoint. Number one, systematic utility management. We're really looking at creating repeatable processes for efficient operations. That goes beyond just SOPs. We want to have a whole process in place that's going to allow repeatable operations and allow us to become a lot more efficient. So we want to standardize operations and reduce reliance on individual experience so that we can bring new people in and get them trained up, and they're going to be able to walk into being efficient right away. Data driven decision making. We generate a lot of data and we don't use it effectively. We got to start looking at the trends. It's not just the spot check that we get when we get an analytical report, for instance. We want to look at the trends there. So we're going to use data to prioritize investments and operations, and with the goal to optimize resource allocation and improve decision making. And then proactive operations. We want to shift from reactive repairs to predictive maintenance. And that's where the data comes in. All these three pillars work together, obviously, to get us to that point. And with the ultimate goal, we want to reduce failures and improve service continuity. So the integration benefits here, it creates a sustainable, self-enforcing management system. We're really looking to achieve 10x costs and operational improvements. A lot of these things have really nice ROIs attached to them that you can attach to them. And we'll look at that a little bit here later too. And it transforms utility culture from reactive to proactive. If you're sensing a theme here, you got it, because we want to get to a proactive situation. Here's a small Midwest utility using these types of systems. We see a 40% reduction in emergency calls, water loss, 28 to 15% reduction, $2 million in avoided costs. These are just some of the things, and a lot of this is like low hanging fruit. So we can pick up a lot of that right away. These have real ROIs attached to them. So systematic water management, it really produces measurable improvements in operational efficiency and cost savings. So that it's a win-win all the way around. So here are the program content areas. We have 16 critical management areas we look at, and I'm not going to go through these in great detail here, but you can read those. But we obviously, asset management is really important. Our water supply, knowledge retention we hit, and we'll look at some of these key ones here. But we really focus on these 16 areas, and these are basically management areas. Physical security down here, I also include cybersecurity in that too, because that's becoming more and more important all the time. So these are the areas we're going to focus on from a management perspective, not necessarily a technical operator perspective. So here's our one key focus area is asset management and capital planning. So here's the asset lifecycle management program. We go from assessment, planning, implementation, operation, maintenance, and decommissioning. Everything goes through the cycle. We got to see where we're at with our assets in order to get them in the proper place in our asset management plan and retire them or replace them when they need that. So we want to develop data-driven capital plans so we can go to the board and we can say, this data shows that we need to do this, and you're providing sound information in order for the board to make the decision to do that investment to replace those capital assets. We want to learn to evaluate the system's condition critically and the remaining useful life. So this is a really important component of asset management, is the asset condition, its criticality. We're going to look at all that, and that's how you prioritize them for replacement. And it really comes down to risk management too. So we have an optimized capital. When we do this, we have an optimized capital expenditure structure. We extend infrastructure lifespan. We reduce operational costs, and we improve system reliability. All these are huge pluses. Water supply and loss management. This is a big problem area for a lot of utilities, but it really is the low-hanging fruit area, because you can spend a little bit of investment here if it's done systematically, and you can get big ROI on water loss management from non-revenue water. So this is going to be very important, because we're going to be able to step in here and probably make some pretty good gains here. And so that's where a lot of people focus on when they're starting to do this data-driven decision-making types of approach and getting into the proactive approach, is non-revenue water. You can get some big gains there. We rely on American Water Works Association's M36 methodology, but we're seeing a lot of interesting approaches. Pressure modulation is one, satellite leak detection. These are some things where we can get some pretty good gains here. And like I say, you get a pretty darn good return on investment here from water loss management. My slide there, another area, knowledge retention. This is a huge deal, because as people retire and they walk out the door, they have that institutional knowledge. You lose that when you walk out the door. Somehow you have to capture that, and we got to do it systematically. So there's ways of doing that. We got some interesting techniques that we teach and work with on this that really make it a no-brainer, and you can bring new people in, get them up to speed, and with the help of AI and some of these tools that are available to us now that weren't just available just a few years ago, that now are well within the reach of a small water utility implementing. So this can be a huge area, because we want to retain that knowledge and not lose that when people retire. We have the aging workforce timeline here, and really we want to document SOPs, but we also want to document the equipment we have, where it's at, and how to operate that equipment. We want to train our employees, and we want to have that information easily available. You can do this. You can put this in a cloud database, for instance, and make it available. And then we want to transfer that to the new people coming in, get them up to speed quickly. The knowledge base is what's going to be important. And that knowledge base is going to be something that's going to be not in somebody's head, but it's going to be on the computer, in the cloud, and accessible to everybody in the water utility. Technology integration. Technology is just advancing by leaps and bounds. We've seen the AI, but we've seen a lot of Internet of Things types of instrumentation out there. And when I say Internet of Things, that's really connected architecture valves, pressure relief valves, and just your SCADA systems. Everything is connected now. And we can take that data, we can look at things in real time, we can run it through our SCADA system. A lot of SCADA systems are really improving where they can take a lot of inputs from things that we didn't used to. And now we can create a dashboard where we can update those things in real time and have real numbers just at a glance and see how we're performing. And you can see how this is actually going to lead to performance improvements through predictive maintenance, because now you're looking at the trends and you're able to see those happening in real time by this technology integration. And the cost on these things is absolutely going down here. So they are great investments that have a good ROI attached to them too, just like the water loss. So it's something that you can't put off. It's something that's worth investing in because you can get a good ROI out of there. So we want to move from spreadsheets. A lot of our stuff is in spreadsheets. I'm still talking with a lot of water utilities that have it in paper files. We at least want to move to spreadsheets. We want to build in GIS databases now. And this stuff is becoming really cheap with folks like Diamond Maps technology out there. And we want to move into take this data, move into predictive analytics, and then we're going to have our performance dashboards. So that a lot of times for a small water utility can be a spreadsheet-based dashboard, but it's updated in real time, and that will give us at a glance in how our system is performing. We're going to have key performance indicators, and we're going to be able to look at those and see how we're performing actually in real time. So huge benefits there. So getting into the program itself, we have two paths to success, we call it. Mostly we're going to be in the mastermind format. That's going to be a small class size. It's going to be 8 people. It's going to be a cohort type of thing. We're going to meet online. We'll do some training. We'll do some trading information amongst people involved and get the discussion going. And so we'll have subject matter experts coming in. We'll actually do some training, be able to answer some questions. So it'll be a format to kind of keep things going, and we'll go through all these different 16 areas. Weekly online meetings, peer learning. There's going to be some expert support. We'll get other people in here that are subject matter experts and go from there. And for people that need a little more help, then there's an individual coaching format, and that's going to be more customized content. If you got particular problems you're working on or situations that don't fall, you're not quite getting the help you need in the mastermind format, then this is probably the way to go. We'll construct goals that are specific and timeframes of the training that are specific to you and your water utility. So quantifiable results. When we've seen water utilities that are employing these techniques, and as the data starts to come in, as more people do this, you're seeing emergency calls reduced 15 to 25%, operating costs reduced 10 to 20%, compliance scores improved. This is your compliance, regulatory compliance, and we all hate to get written up and get notices of violations. So 30 to 40% improvement there because we're keeping track of our data in real time. And water loss kind of ranges around the board, but we can see significant reductions in non-revenue water situations. So for systems and we're really talking about under 3,000 connections here is my focus, but we can vary on that a little bit. But generally, this is really geared towards systems, smaller systems that are be under 3,000 connections. All right. The return on investment, obviously, we talked about that a little bit. You will see because you are dealing with actual data, you're now going to be able to quantify your returns. You're going to be able to take that to your board and show them where your investments paid off and the actual return on investment that you're seeing for spending this capital. And now you're going to be able to present that to the board, and you're going to get more buy-in. And as efficiencies improve and you move out of that reactive to proactive mode, now you're going to start to free up money where you can do some of these projects that have been kicked down the road a little bit and get ahead of the game instead of always being behind the game. That's important too. So who should participate? Like I say, this is really focused on small water utilities. Most bigger water, the really big guys, they're going to have in-house training and they're going to have people that are experts. But for most smaller water utilities, the people managing them do not have specific management skills here that we're going to be teaching. And it's a changing field too, that the technology is changing every day. So just keeping up with that alone. But really, we're focused on smaller water systems. The utility manager overwhelmed by competing operational priorities. So we want to take that the water utility manager, and we want to move him to a data-driven, proactive system so that he's freeing up time so he can actually manage things instead of reacting things. Systems facing infrastructure, we need to get a hold of that, ahead of that, and dealing with limited budgeted resources. If we prioritize things, if we're able to do that predictive analytics, now we're able to focus on what our problems are and get ahead of the situation. Modernization needs, everybody needs to be modernized. A lot of smaller utilities are way behind the times. We got to start getting caught up. Leadership transition, that's always something that's at the back of people's mind. We do have people aging out, operators aging out, but also managers. So we're going to see managers leaving. We need to build those systems so that our water utility can perpetuate itself beyond somebody just leaving. And change willingness. This is something, resistance to change is a real thing. And so we work with people on how do we implement these things while overcoming resistance to change, because it is a real thing. We've always done things this way, and you hear that all the time, and we don't want to change. So you really need to do a systematic approach to this to overcome that resistance to change. All right, take the next step. You can get a hold of me. We'll have a website and secure your spot. I will have my email address here if you're interested, and I'll also post a link to my calendar page so you can get me on a call, see if it's right to you. And we're going to have limited spots. Obviously, when you're limited to 8-person per mastermind, we probably can maybe run 2, maybe 3 masterminds and some individual coaching. So there's going to be limited spots here. And so you're going to want to get on board. So get a hold of me, talk to me, and see if you're interested in this, and we will take it from there. I will look forward to hearing from you. All right. So here's my email. Feel free to email me. I will have links in the video. So thank you very much, and we'll look forward to seeing you as participants in the Water Masters program.